It was the 8th day of the 12th lunar month, and Yan Mateo's widowed white moonlight had returned to the capital. He couldn't wait to bring the person into his mansion. Lu Yuan, you and Shui Fu are close friends. You wouldn't bear to see her alone and helpless, would you? I replied with a wry smile. Of course, childhood sweethearts, companions for many years, but in the end, it was all in vain. I took out the letter from my makeup box and read it over and over, then picked up my brush and wrote a letter of annulment. From now on, he and I will marry different people and have nothing to do with each other. After the 15th day of the 1st lunar month, I can return to Yanmen Pass. On the morning of the 8th day of the 12th lunar month, before dawn, I got up and went into the small kitchen. Yesterday, I had already washed and soaked various kinds of millet. Today, I added some walnuts, dates, and milk mushrooms, and simmered them over a low heat for 2 hours to get a bowl of sweet and sticky laba congee. Yan Mateo had a cold and aloof personality, but he loved sweets the most. If I could get him to drink a few more sips, I was willing to personally handle such a small matter. However, the congee in the pot had already boiled a few times, but Yan Mateo had not appeared. Miss, should I set the table? Xiaoyu asked. I shook my head. Let's wait for the heir to come back. He returned home in the afternoon. The second gate reported that Yan Mateo was followed by his recently widowed childhood sweetheart who had returned to the capital, Chen Shui Fu. He sent someone to invite me to Furong Courtyard, his words exceptionally gentle. Lu Yuan, look who this is. Shui Fu is a close friend of yours from childhood, and I plan to have her stay at my residence when she returns to the capital this time. It wouldn't be good to leave her all alone during the New Year festivities. To look pretty, one must show filial piety. After 3 years apart, Chen Shui Fu in her plain attire looked even more graceful. I scanned the room. The curio shelves were filled with treasures, and the moon shadow gauze, worth 100 gold pieces, was used as mere drapes. The brazier was still burning with orchid branch incense, which she always favored. Even the vanity table was adorned with Fuchin Pavilion's finest rouge and powder. With such meticulous preparation, I wonder how long Yan Mateo had been planning this behind my back. Besides, I'm just his fiancé, so I don't really have a choice but to agree, do I? We've been engaged for 3 years, but all my passion still couldn't warm his heart. I lowered my head in helplessness and said with a wry smile, okay, it's been a while, and it's nice to welcome the New Year reunion with Shui Fu. Chen Shui Fu smiled at my words, her dimples becoming even sweeter. A yuan. I see the maid you brought is carrying a food box. Is that laba congee? It's funny, I was thinking about it on the way. Would you like to stay and eat with me? Reading between the lines, I responded wisely, I've already eaten, and I'm afraid I'll get indigestion if I eat more, so I won't trouble you. Perhaps because I used to pester him to eat together. Yan Mateo gave me a surprised look, but in the end, he said nothing. Stepping out of the room, I could see the eaves of Yan Mateo's study, much closer than my own courtyard. Several clusters of hibiscus were planted in the garden. It wasn't hard to imagine what a beautiful scene it would be when the flowers bloomed in the warmth of spring next year, so all these were prepared for her long ago. The cold wind on the felt like a bone, scraping steel knife. My stomach was empty, but there was a lump of distress in my chest. Behind me, a room full of spring warmth, filled with laughter and cheerful chatter. Yan Mateo smiled and added porridge for the beautiful woman. You usually like sweet things, and whenever you eat something sweet, I always think of you. I returned to my room in a daze. Under the dressing case was a carrier pigeon message that had just arrived yesterday. I took it out and looked at it again and again. It was from my father. He asked if I was happy and when I would get married. After a long while, I wrote out a letter of annulment, stroke by stroke. Xiaoyu, after the 15th, we'll set off for Yanmen Pass. I was born on the frontier. After my mother passed away from illness, my general father worried that the soldiers were all rough men and wouldn't be able to take good care of me, so he entrusted me to my aunt in the capital. My aunt had no children, and her eldest son, Yan Mateo, became her adopted son. The year I came of age, my aunt asked me if I was willing to marry Yan Mateo. I blushed and nodded slightly, thinking it was a childhood romance and our destiny. On the day we got engaged, my friend Chen Shui Fu married into the Xie family of Jiangnan. Yan Mateo, who always held himself together, was completely drunk. I thought he was just overcome with joy, and I diligently made him some hangover soup. In his drunken haze, he seemed to mistake me for someone else, grabbing my sleeve and calling me, Fur, don't marry him. Lu Yuan and I, it's really my stepmother forcing me, not what I wanted. Wait for me a little longer, wait until I'm stable in the heir's position. Don't marry someone else. Okay, my heart leaped. All the past events were just illusions. It turns out that Chen Shui-fu always came to the manor to find me. And it turns out that Yan Mateo brought me gifts twice each time because they had long harbored feelings for each other. I'm just a pretense. In my panic, I knocked over the food box. The scalding soup spilled all over Yan Mateo, waking him up. As soon as he saw who was in front of him, he returned to his usual calm and composed demeanor, tending to my burnt fingertips while gently saying, "Thank you for your hard work. A yuan. From now on, I should be the one to dote on you more." My heart ached as if my fingertips were connected to my heart, but I still forced myself to try and probe. "Brother Tsongshu, you say people speak their true minds when drunk. Is that really true? If he says it's true, I'll report it to my aunt and the engagement will be cancelled." I pondered to myself. He was silent for a few breaths, perhaps unsure of what I had heard. He said casually, "It's obviously fake. How can I take nonsense seriously? I only yearn to marry a yuan as my bride as soon as possible." Forcing a smile that looked worse than crying, I fled in a panic. After my aunt fell ill, the backyard grew quiet. Seeing me arrive, she asked with concern, "You're still out so late. Did something upset you?" I looked up at the woman before me. She had no children of her own, and found it difficult to get along with her high society mother-in-law and sisters-in-law, living a very hard life in the Marquis' mansion. Aunt and Yan Mateo, one is a mistress without children, the other is a concubine's son without a mother. In this vast mansion, they looked out for each other. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth, so I just said I missed my mother. This made my aunt hug me and feel heartbroken, but no matter how many reasons there were, in the end, it was just my greed. I didn't want the youthful infatuation to be wasted, and stubbornly insisted on working things out with him to become a loving couple. The person he loved was already married to someone else, and I still had plenty of time to wait for him to forget. I'm not worse than her. Love arises without reason and deepens intensely. It's not that whoever is better gets more favor from the person they love. Later, my aunt became critically ill and passed away. Yan Mateo said he would observe a 3-year mourning period for his legal mother before getting married. If I stayed in the Marquis' mansion any longer, my status would be awkward. It was the Marquis' words that allowed me to exercise the authority of the heir's wife as the housekeeper ahead of time, so I continued to stay. Chen Shui-fu's husband was short-lived, and she became a widow at a young age. 2 months ago, Yan Mateo personally went to Jiangnan to pay respects, and after returning, he often seemed absent-minded. Today, he has personally brought her to the Marquis' mansion in the capital to settle her. Chen Shui-fu's father took his family on an external assignment, but there were still servants guarding the house in the capital, and at worst, there were some old acquaintances, but she moved in so brazenly, to avoid gossip. It must also be announced to the public that it was due to Lu Yuan's warm invitation. I instructed the servants not to gossip in front of the Marquis, but the surrounding walls cannot stop rumors. The Marquis' face was as dark as water. "Before your aunt died, she entrusted me with only one thing, to take good care of you. These days, I've been watching coldly. If things drag on, you and Songshu will only end up like me and your aunt, becoming a pair of resentful couples. If you regret it, I, your uncle, will handle the annulment of the engagement for you." I bowed and thanked him. The engagement needs to be broken off. Also, a yuan has been away from home for a long time and doesn't know her father's recent situation. She wants to return to Yenmen Pass next year. The 15th of the first lunar month is the 3rd anniversary of my aunt's memorial service. A yuan will leave after that day. I just hope that no third person will know about this news. With the Marquis' approval, I felt at ease and hurried back to my room to pack my luggage. Unexpectedly, Yan Mateo was in my room, and I didn't know how long he had been waiting. Seeing me come in, he gently tapped the table twice and said with consideration, "The 3-year mourning period is almost over, and the wedding date should be put on the agenda. But I always wanted to achieve fame and bring you some glory." Seeing my indifferent expression and lack of response, he finally couldn't help but state the purpose of his visit. "If you are in a hurry to get married, it's not impossible. As long as you agree that Shui Fu and you will be equal wives, we will get married next spring. How about it? Don't worry, the household management tokens will still be with you." It was as if his willingness to marry me was a favor I had begged for. It's a pity that I worked hard to fulfill his romantic aspirations. Well, my aunt has passed away, and my biggest backing in this backyard is gone. Perhaps in Yan Mateo's eyes, I am just an orphan living in the Marquis' mansion. From now on, my husband is heaven. To him, I can only be gentle and obedient. I curved my lips and smiled. "Okay, Shui Fu and I are like sisters, and we will definitely get along harmoniously in the future. Anyway, I'm leaving. It doesn't matter who he marries. Seeing my quick agreement, Yan Mateo was surprised. He leaned forward as if to cup my face, perhaps to confirm something. I turned my head to avoid him and gave him the order to leave. It's late and the dew is heavy. Please take an extra lamp when you leave. Young master. I don't know what displeased him again. A faint anger spread across his face, and he flicked his sleeves and strode away. This trip is 1,000 miles away. I should bring more soft goods. I ordered Xiaoyu to gather everything that couldn't be taken away in one place. Anyway, I'm not coming back, so I'll leave this room clean, as if I never came here. Miss, should all these be put away? Xiaoyu asked, holding a big box. I looked through them one by one. My eyes fell on a kite with a pair of flying birds pattern, lifelike. It was personally made for me by Yan Mateo. On the third day of the third lunar month that year, Xianxia Festival, we each held a string, competing and playing, envied by noble ladies of the same age. They said, a priceless treasure is easily obtained, but a devoted lover is hard to find. Wealth and status are common for aristocratic families, but what's rare is someone willing to spend time and effort to please a beloved. No, these are just child's play. Looking at the second item, it was a sandalwood comb he personally polished for me, with rolling grass and auspicious clouds carved on the back. The rolling grass was entwined, and the auspicious clouds signified good fortune and prosperity. He also used to comb my hair for me, saying, may your hair remain black until your hair turns white. Small window, doing hair, but it's all just past clouds and smoke. I don't want this either. Bring me a gold, inlaid ivory comb, I said, tossing it aside. Now that I'm older, I especially favor gold and silver treasures. The third item was a bamboo, ribbed fan, with a pair of wild geese carved on the fan surface. Yan Mateo said he spent a long time drawing and carving it. His hands were chapped and his eyes were blurry. A wild goose is a loyal bird, only recognizing one mate for life. Put it away too. Put them all away. Just stuff them into the storeroom. Xiaoyu received the order and went, but returned within a quarter of an hour with the same items, looking troubled. Yan Mateo, full of imposing presence, followed behind. It must have been an unfortunate encounter. Lu Yuan, what do you mean by this? He pointed at the chest, seemingly exasperated. Are you upset with me because of Shui Fu now? But you clearly agreed. I never knew you were such a two-faced person, stabbing me in the back. All the effort I put into doing these things for you was completely wasted. Seeing him so angry, I couldn't help but find it amusing, and I continued to lie with a smile. Why would the young master think that? I was just thinking of decorating for the wedding and clearing some space. Yan Mateo's face was gloomy, his gaze heavy. Lu Yuan, you're treating me like a fool. You never called me young master before. That's right. I used to only call him Songshu Gij. I lowered my eyes and remained silent, but he pressed on. A Yuan, call me Gij one more time, and today's matter will be my fault. Whatever you want in the future, I'll give it to you. He gripped my hands, leaving red marks, and it hurt a little. I met his gaze expressionlessly, refusing to speak. Just then, Chen Shuifu's voice came from outside the door. Songshu Gij, are you in there? I had a nightmare during my nap just now, and when I woke up, you weren't here. Fuer was a bit flustered. He froze for a moment, as if snapping back to reality, released his hand, and hurried to take Chen Shuifu away. Before leaving, he even turned his head and said coldly, if you're unwilling, there are plenty of others who are. From that day on, he never set foot in my courtyard again. That's fine too. For my last New Year's in the Marquis' mansion, I want to have a peaceful year, but it seems those two just won't let me have my way. The 23rd, the minor New Year. Today is the day to offer sacrifices to the kitchen god and cut window paper decorations. I distributed red paper to the servants in each courtyard a day in advance, instructing them to cut and paste them to add festivity to the new year. In the afternoon, I lit a stove in my room and started making sugar gourds. A maid from Furong Courtyard came with a stack of cut window paper decorations and reported, Miss Liu, these were cut by the heir apparent and our young lady together. The two of them are always faster, so they cut a lot. Our young lady was afraid you'd be slow by yourself, and that this courtyard wouldn't have enough, so she specifically sent them to you. For some reason, I remembered a line of poetry. Through the window, the scent of flowers warms the spring. Only Ying is allowed to occupy it. The two of them were talking by the west window, heads together, likely sharing endless gentle affection. Yan Mateo used to do such things with me too. It's just that now, someone else has taken my place. What do they mean by fast or slow? It's nothing but showing off. Now everyone in the mansion knows the heir apparent dotes on Xianxia Fu. Even any Tom, Dick, or Harry dares to step on my face. Shall you take her down and make her kneel under the corridor for an hour? The maid said indignantly. I am my lady's maid. By what right do you punish me? I just stared at the fire without speaking. Xiao said with a stern face, since your mistress brought you into the manor, you should know who is in charge. Trespassing without announcement is punishable. The maid cried whimpering under the corridor, which was annoying. I stirred the sugar threads in the pot with all my might, so that the stove god would have a sweeter mouth. Speak good things in heaven, and say more good words for the human world. Bless my father and brother with peace and prosperity in the coming year. Bless the border of the country and the nation with peace and stability, and bless the border residents from hunger and cold. While I was busy, Yan Mateo came again, with Xianxia Fu behind him. Yan Mateo's face was displeased, likely here to demand an explanation. Lu Yuan, Fu kindly brought you window decorations. Why did you detain her maid instead? Catching sight of the slightly yellow and fragrant sugar threads in the pot, he said sarcastically, what? Thinking of pleasing me with some trinkets again? Fu has already taken care of everything today. I always feel that what she makes herself is especially sweet, so you don't need to bother. I didn't lift my head. You're thinking too much. This is for the stove god and my aunt. However, if you were like the one before Shui Fu, you could also be offered to. Yan Mateo was so angry he was speechless, and Xianxia Fu was in tears. A yuan, I meant well. Why do you have to hit where it hurts? It was also my carelessness, not instructing the servants properly. She took it upon herself to send you patterns of entwined mandarin ducks and dragons and phoenixes, and with you and Songshu having a falling out these past 2 days, I imagine it's upsetting to see, but even if it's all my fault, you shouldn't be so harsh. Only then did I pick up that stack of paper cuttings and take a look. They were all patterns of pears, and many even had auspicious phrases like, a match made in heaven and, eternal love cut into them. Well cut, I praised perfunctorily, tossing them all into the brazier. Perfect for adding fuel to my sugar-coated melon. A yuan, how have you become like this? This is simply too much. I'm not going to live anymore. Xianxia Fu cried and ran out. Yan Mateo quickly followed, and before leaving, he didn't forget to give me a fierce glare. Lu Yuan, if anything happens to Fu, I will never forgive you. His tone was even more piercing than the December wind. What could possibly happen to Xianxia Fu? After her husband died, whether she remained a widow or remarried would be difficult. Now that she has hitched herself to the heir of the Marquis' mansion, she would be unwilling to die. At night, Yan Mateo came to find me. He seemed to be drunk. A yuan, you've lived in the Marquis' mansion for so many years. You've long been branded as mine. Think about it. Who in the capital would dare to marry you if not me? Why can't you just be content? I asked myself if I had been content to the extreme. I had never provoked anyone. Yet I was still criticized for not being content. I miss Saibai and Daddy. If it weren't for missing my aunt, if it weren't for being blinded by his gentle attentiveness, I should be riding horses on the grassland, free and at ease, instead of being trapped within these 4 square walls. Seeing that I didn't speak, he started telling stories again. What about Yi Huang and Nuing, Fei Yan and Hida, the elder and younger empresses Zhou? It was always the same examples of sisters sharing a husband. I never knew he spent all his days in his study learning this. He was still earnestly advising. A yuan, you must understand that being affectionate doesn't necessarily mean being heartless. I am merely following the example of my predecessors. I love both of you equally, but Fu had a difficult past, and now she doesn't mind your existence. Can you yield to her a little? Bullshit. Being affectionate is truly being heartless. Men who are affectionate mostly want to have everything and never care about the sacrifices and pain of others. He took my cold hand, half asking, half warning. A yuan, if you would just be content, we would all have good lives. Next year we get married, and Fu will be by my side, accompanying me, while you play the zither. What a joyful prospect this is. Don't you yearn for it? Not at all. Using the lives of 2 women to fulfill his fantasy of having both. I let out a soft laugh. She's not doing well, but was it my fault? The good life you speak of, what benefits can I gain from it? Seeing that I was unyielding, he raised an eyebrow and said menacingly, the reason she ended up like this is all because of you. If it weren't for you, I would have married her, and she wouldn't have had to become a widow so early, to be bullied by everyone. Although she doesn't blame you at all, this is a sin you need to atone for. But I didn't plan to marry him in the first place. I only thought of him as an older brother. It was he who slowly approached me, seducing me step by step. It was also he who proactively spoke to my aunt about our marriage. I was drawn to him because he was familiar, and because of his deep love and loyalty, but in the end, all of that was fake. I was just the superfluous person between him and Chen Shuifu. These days, I often think back to those times. Back then, Chen Shuifu often incited me. Yuan, listen to me. When us women get married, we need to find someone who's caring and considerate. I think Songshugij is good. Look how attentive he is to you. See, he always brings things to you in pairs. Even I get to benefit from you. This is what they call loving the house and its crows. It's laughable that only now do I distinguish who is the house and who is the crow. I wonder what she was thinking to say such disingenuous words. After that unpleasant parting, Yan Mateo never bothered me again. I led the people in the courtyard to clean the rooms and dust, bathed and fasted, and personally steamed a lot of rice cakes and pastries. It was quite a free and fulfilling time. The old folks in the manor all said that the deceased would only reincarnate after 3 years. I want my aunt to see that I'm living a happy and contented life, so she can rest assured. Early on New Year's Eve, I ordered the steward to arrange for all the courtyards to paste spring festival couplets and hang lanterns. After inspecting them in the afternoon, the other courtyards had auspicious New Year greetings like, auspicious clouds soar 3,000 feet, spring breeze fills the hall for 12 hours, which were grand and lucky. Only Furong courtyard was different, golden ink on gilded red paper. Yan Mateo's handwriting was strong and vigorous. Colorful sunbeams shine, welcoming the phoenix chariot. Auspicious clouds present good fortune, covering the phoenix makeup. It looked more like a wedding couplet. I paused for a moment, smiled, and walked away. Yuan, Chen Shuifu called me from behind. I turned back and saw her walking towards me, her eyes full of smiles. After stopping in front of me, she spun around on the spot. Her 12-paneled gold, stamped red dress forming a perfect arc. Are the clothes you're wearing for the new year ready? This was ordered by Tsongshu long ago at Jinsheng Pavilion. It's kind of him to remember my measurements. He also said that on the Lantern Festival when I was 14, I wore an outfit like this, and he thought it looked good, so he had a set of clothes made according to it. Do you think it looks similar? I twitched the corner of my mouth. It does look a bit similar. However, you all missed one thing. She blinked innocently. What? I casually took a white cloth flower, not yet sprayed with red paint, from a maid's hand and tucked it into her hair bun. You all forgot. You are still in mourning. Solemn, restrained, mourn, wear white, avoid celebrations. She didn't do any of the proper etiquette. Her face stiffened, her complexion paler than snow, her eyes brimming with tears, as if I had truly bullied her. It's just a shame her audience wasn't there. Dusk deepened, the sun set and the moon rose. On New Year's Eve, the Marquis had summoned everyone from the various courtyards to Rongshi Hall early. Only Chen Shuifu arrived late, dressed in white as pure as snow. The Marquis frowned at her attire but said nothing more. It was Yan Mateo who interpreted the grievance and helplessness from her gaze. He asked her why she wasn't wearing the luxurious clothes he had prepared for her earlier. It's not that I deliberately rejected Songshu Gij's kind offer. She looked at me, then lowered her head and choked out. A Yuan specifically came to my courtyard this afternoon to remind me that I am still in mourning and should dress simply. He turned and stared at me, his gaze chilling. Just for one day of indulgence at home, you can't be considerate. Why do you keep humiliating her like this? I ignored him and turned to the Marquis. Uncle, it's almost 3 years since Aunt passed away, and a Yuan still wears white every day. The Marquis rubbed his temple and said to Yan Mateo, a Yuan is right. Your friend's husband passed away less than 100 days ago. This festive reunion must be painful for her, so let her return to her own courtyard. The veins on Yan Mateo's forehead bulged, but he could only grit his teeth and suppress his anger. Father, go. The Marquis waved his hand. Chen Shuifu's face fell, and she left with teary eyes. Under pressure from the Marquis, Yan Mateo didn't dare to follow. He leaned close to my ear and said through gritted teeth, Lu Yuan, you're so jealous even though you're not married yet. I can totally choose not to marry you, while I can still tolerate you. You'd better go apologize to Fuer, or else, you'll face the consequences. I chewed the food in my mouth carefully, dabbed my lips with a handkerchief, and said leisurely, even if the engagement is broken, I'll be the one to break it. He snorted coldly, you'll never get to do that in this lifetime. After the meal, he couldn't wait to go to Furong Courtyard. I stayed up alone in the room, waiting for the new year. I remembered when my aunt was still around, we'd set off firecrackers together, play card games, and have fun until dawn. With bright red, verdant green, a candle lit by the west window, not sleeping until dawn. Laughter turns into the chirping of orioles in the new year. The setting sun and east wind don't let the year's splendor go. Back then, Yan Mateo always let me win. On New Year's Eve alone, I could win over 10 gold ingots, he said. Laughter and joy are not yet at their peak, so don't stop pouring drinks. A yuan. From now on, we'll welcome every new year together. Now that my aunt is gone, he doesn't need to stay with me or treat me well anymore. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, friends and relatives visited, and I had to welcome and see them off. I wanted to return the steward's token a long time ago, but the Marquis refused to take it, saying that there were many complicated matters during the festival and we could discuss it after the holiday. I could only take on the responsibility. Early in the morning, Yan Mateo brought Chen Shui Fu over again. Fu and I won't hold you accountable for what happened yesterday. This is a chance for you to make amends. Many ladies will visit the mansion these next couple of days. You should accompany Fu in entertaining them. Even if she doesn't manage the household in the future, she'll still need to go out and socialize. I readily agreed. Sure. This took Yan Mateo by surprise, leaving him speechless. Some ladies, who were eager to gossip, boldly asked me who Chen Shui Fu was. I have always been straightforward. She's a close friend I used to confide in. She married into the Gusuhi family 3 years ago. Her husband passed away in October, and she came to live at the Marquis' mansion. It's estimated that she'll marry the heir in the spring. Such blunt truth made Chen Shui Fu's face turn from red to pale, yet she couldn't refute it. For a moment, she didn't know whether to stay or go. So, you approve of it too? The lady pressed. Me, I'm just the heir's cousin. I'm staying here for a few more days thanks to my uncle's kindness. As for the heir's matters, I have no objections. Yan Mateo said no one in the capital dared to marry me, but I moved into the Marquis' mansion due to kinship. Then what is Chen Shui Fu's reason for being here? No one dares to be involved with that person, but it definitely won't be me. Chen Shui Fu stayed by my side for a day. After seeing off all the guests at dusk, she couldn't wait to hide in Furong Courtyard. It was like this for several days. She's quite adaptable, but I find it boring. As it was already the 7th day of the lunar month, I packed my things and headed to Baiyun Temple on the outskirts of the city. My aunt's memorial tablet is enshrined there, receiving incense. There are still some days until the triennial grand ceremony. I need to prepare in advance and perform rituals for 7 days. Chen Shui Fu, holding Yan Mateo's hand, gently bid farewell to me. A yuan, please rest assured, I will take good care of the household and Songshu Gij. Yan Mateo didn't look at me, affectionately flicking her nose. You say you'll take care of me, but in the end, I'm the one who looks after you. You're the one who gives the most trouble. I just felt a sting in my eyes. In the past, I was the one who meticulously managed everything for Yan Mateo. Now, he's the one worrying about someone else. The more love you give, the heavier the giving becomes. The scales always tilt towards the one who is cherished. Alright. I'm not as sensible as a yuan. Then you can go to Baiyun Temple with her. Chen Shui Fu pretended to be angry and turned to leave. Hey, my little princess. Yan Mateo chased after her, coaxing her. Chen Shui Fu lightly punched him, then leaned into his chest and smiled at me. It was like a declaration that she, after all, had won the heart of this man. Xiaoyu anxiously held my hand. Miss, no problem. I patted her shoulder to comfort her. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, with hundreds of monks praying, the Marquis personally burned the sacrificial text. My aunt's memorial ceremony was perfect and fitting. This is the last thing I can do for her. May she attain rebirth in the Pure Land and no longer suffer the pain of greed, anger, and ignorance in the mortal world. Chen Shui Fu didn't come, and Yan Mateo seemed a bit distracted. The butler said she caused trouble, behaved inappropriately at the banquet, offended the Grand Princess who always valued rules and propriety, and was made to kneel for a long time. Yan Mateo was extremely worried. The Marquis looked at Yan Mateo's absent-minded state and sighed softly. Now he also realized that the Yan Mateo of the past was just pretending to be filial. He took out the family tree and made a change on Yan Mateo's page. Yan Mateo, whose mind was wandering, didn't notice at all, but I was close by and saw clearly that he had returned to the status of a son of a concubine. Perhaps the next time he disappoints the Marquis, he will lose his position as the heir. It's just that I don't know if Chen Shui Fu will still be fond of him by then. Before returning to the mansion, the Marquis asked me, A yuan, do you really have to leave? I have many other sons. You can choose again. Perhaps there's one you'll be satisfied with. I always feel that in this house. You are like Yan Yang was 20 years ago. I looked at the man in front of me. Since my aunt left, he seemed to have aged a lot. My aunt had no children, and the Marquis never abandoned her, creating a beautiful story in the capital city. But for the sake of continuing his lineage, he took in concubine after concubine, each wanting to replace my aunt. disturbing her peace. Everyone praised my aunt for her good fortune, but only she knew the pain within. When she passed away, he also settled down, dismissed all the women in his back courtyard, and devoted himself to seeking immortality, thinking of continuing their fate in the next life. Perhaps most men in the world are like this. They don't cherish people when they are around, and when they are gone, they regret it deeply, wanting to do everything they can to make up for it. I curtsied gracefully. Thank you for protecting me during this time, uncle. I won't stay any longer. Are you never coming back to this capital city? The Marquis asked. Not necessarily. A Yuan never runs away from anything. I just want to live my own life properly now. Everything I've done before was to become a good daughter, in law and wife in the future. From now on, I need to think more about myself. Baiyun Temple is located on the mountaintop. I stood at the mountain gate, gazing into the distance. The houses in the capital city densely packed, side by side. From childhood, girls were confined to those courtyards, and when they grew a little older, they were married off to another similar square world. Trapped in these narrow corners, they could only fight and kill each other, for favor, for offspring, for their future, for the sake of a fickle man. You could look up at the sky, high and clouds thin, cast aside the entanglements of love. Life should be vast and boundless. Lantern Festival. Admire the flower lanterns. Yanmen Pass is located in the border region, sparsely populated. Such a prosperous scene is rare from now on. I'm taking Xiaoyu out. Coincidentally, Yan Mateo was helping Chen Shui Fu into the carriage. Seeing me arrive, a flicker of awkwardness flashed across his face. A Yuan, Fuer has been wronged a bit these past few days. Sorry, I can't take you with me tonight. So he thought I was eagerly trying to join them. Chen Shui Fu also smiled apologetically at me, but the smile was particularly sarcastic. Young master, you're thinking too much. I don't wish to travel with you too. A Yuan, Yan Mateo called me again. I got into the carriage without looking back. There was no curfew tonight, and as the lanterns lit up, the entire city seemed to have fallen into a brilliant starry river. The roadside was filled with all sorts of colorful lanterns, jade rabbits chasing the moon, dragons and phoenixes bringing prosperity. The candlelight flickered, dreamlike and ethereal. Fireworks soared into the sky, bursting into splendid and colorful patterns in the night sky, some like blooming flowers, others like silver waterfalls flowing. I bought a lotus lantern. Legend has it that on the night of the Lantern Festival, placing a lotus lantern into the river can grant one wish. I carefully placed the lantern on the water's surface, gently brushing it with my hand. Turning around, I saw Yan Mateo and Chen Shui Fu standing not far away. Truly a case of enemies meeting on a narrow road. He asked with a smile. Fuer, what is your wish? I want to be with Songshu forever and ever. Just the two of us. Chen Shui Fu's answer was resolute. Hearing this, he hesitated a little. Chen Shui Fu became unhappy, pouting. You only like me. That was all just to coax me, right? He was silent for a long time. Sorry, Fuer. This one thing I cannot promise you. Amidst the argument, Yan Mateo caught sight of me. Chen Shui Fu followed his gaze, then affectionately linked her arm with Yan Mateo's, as if the argument just now was an illusion. Smiling, she asked me, A Yuan, do you have any wishes? Songshu and I will do our best to fulfill them for you. I smiled faintly. My wish is to fulfill your wish. I will leave this godforsaken place and never see you two again. The disgust in my eyes was clear. Yan Mateo was stunned by what he saw. I turned to go back to my residence. He started to step forward to chase, but was stopped by Chen Shui Fu. She was tearful. Songshu, are you going to abandon me for her again? My luggage had been packed long ago, and I could depart at any time. At Maosher, I pushed open the courtyard gate, and standing outside was a person frozen like an ice sculpture. Yan Mateo. Snow fell all over the top of his head and shoulders, and his long eyelashes were also frosted. Standing in the snow at Cheng's gate. But I have nothing good to teach you. My tone was sarcastic. He wasn't angry either. I specifically asked the steward when I returned yesterday. You've been returning a lot of things to storage lately, and you've also prepared a lot of personal belongings. A Yuan, are you really leaving? I nodded. When will you be back then? I'll wait for you to get married. I stuffed the annulment letter into his arms. I won't be back for 3 to 5 years, and I won't get married either. He picked up the letter in his arms and read it word for word, his eyes burning, almost burning a hole through the thin paper. Silas, marriage is destined by heaven, but after much consideration, I find myself unable to fulfill the promise of growing old together. I write this letter to annul our engagement, and wish for both of us to find suitable partners and go our separate ways from now on. There was also the Marquis' seal in the bottom left corner. His eyes were filled with disbelief. A Yuan, you clearly have me in your heart. Why are you treating me like this? I smiled. I did before, but not anymore. Not from now on. Is it because of Chen Shuifu? I'll send her away now. Will you stay? He was still unwilling to give up, his tone pleading. If I let him do that, over time, he would still resent me for forcefully breaking up a loving couple and ruining his good fortune in marriage. Such a sentimental yet heartless man will only miss the one he cannot have, no matter how time flows. The affection of those around him couldn't move him even half a bit. I looked into his eyes and said seriously, it has nothing to do with anyone else. I just don't want you anymore. Immediately, I got into the carriage and headed west. The rumbling wheels of the carriage left the mundane past behind. The scenery on the road became increasingly desolate, but also more vast and open. It made my heart feel relaxed. After traveling for 2 months, I reached Yanmen Pass. My father received the news and sent someone to pick me up early. When he saw me, the usually resolute man almost shed tears. It's my fault, father. I shouldn't have sent you to the capital to suffer for nothing. It seems he had heard something. I waved my hand. It's okay. Your daughter has let it all go. The military camps are full of good men. Father will pick a good one for you. I pondered for a moment and shook my head, saying, marriage isn't all that great. A girl should eventually have a family. She'll be lonely during festivals. But if you get married, you'll have to manage the daily affairs of the entire family, serve your in-laws, care for your husband, look after your children, entertain relatives and friends. Compared to such hardships, your daughter would rather be alone. If I meet someone I like, it will naturally be worth it. But if I encounter an ungrateful wretch, your daughter feels she'll be at a great disadvantage. Just let your daughter choose slowly. My words left my father speechless. I ended up staying at Yanmen Pass, horse riding, hunting, archery, and in my spare time, I would help the military doctor prepare some herbal medicines. I was busy every day. Spring brought in a batch of new recruits. Yan Mateo's name was prominently listed on the new recruit roster on my father's desk. I frowned. How could an heir of a marquis's mansion come to such a harsh and dangerous front line? Coincidentally, a friend from the capital wrote to me, explaining the whole story. It turned out that Yan Mateo had taken her away from the He family in Jiangnan under the guise of her brother, Chen Shuifu. He just said it was to go home and relax. Someone, unbeknownst to them, leaked the news of their impending marriage to the He family. The He family was naturally furious. Their son had only recently passed away, and their daughter-in-law was secretly planning to marry into a prestigious family. After investigating, it was discovered that the He family's son had actually died by drowning after a drunken argument with Chen Shuifu. According to friends who were present, the He family's son kept saying things like, "So what if he's the heir?" and "How am I inferior to him?" It turned out that they had discovered Chen Shuifu's correspondence with Yan Mateo beforehand. Someone with too much time pieced together the beginning and end of the story. Chen Shuifu had feelings for Yan Mateo, but she disdained his status as a son of a concubine and chose the prestigious and renowned He family. And Yan Mateo was granted the title of heir after being considered for marriage with me. Chen Shuifu regretted choosing wrongly again, regretting endlessly every day for missing the identity of the crown prince's wife, and naturally wouldn't live with young Master He peacefully. After causing her husband to get drunk and fall into the water, she fled to the capital city with Yan Mateo to escape punishment and was in a hurry to get married. The He family reported the Chen family and the Marquis's mansion together to the emperor. The Marquis was furious and submitted a memorial requesting that Yan Mateo's identity as crown prince be stripped and that he no longer be managed. Chen Shuifu was naturally taken back by the He family. Her father was also demoted for his incompetence in raising his child. At the end of the letter, a friend asked, "A Yuan, do you think this is karma?" I smiled, then shook my head. I am just glad to have escaped the quagmire, and I feel a little bit of comfort for the true feelings I once misplaced. I took up my brush to thank my friend for standing up for me and described everything about the frontier in detail. Within 2 days, I met Yan Mateo. He had lost a lot of weight, and the blue stubble on his cheeks made him look even more weathered. I really didn't know what to say. I had planned to pretend not to recognize him. "A Yuan, aren't you curious why I'm here?" Facing each other, he called me. "Now that things have come to this, I realize I have nowhere to go but by your side." He still thinks I'm a fool. "Yan Mateo, do you still think I'm deeply in love with you? And that a few words will make me return to your side?" I said mockingly. His expression darkened, and he said with a wry smile, "No, I just realized my heart. Chen Shuifu was just a lingering obsession from my youth. I always thought that without you, I could be with her. but now I realize that without you, I have nothing. He just felt regret for his status and position, his wealth and power. How could he regret losing a devoted person? The world is vast, with nowhere to belong. I just want to be by your side, even if it's just watching you from afar, whatever you say. As our bodies brushed past each other, he and I also missed out on a life that should have been filled with perfect happiness and mutual respect. To prevent military secrets from leaking, all correspondence within the camp was subject to inspection. Sometimes, when the clerk was too busy, he would also pull me along to review them. Yan Mateo often received letters from Jiangnan. As soon as I saw the small, floral script, I knew who the letter was from. I set it aside and handed it to the clerk for inspection. The clerk exclaimed as he read, "This young lady misses her husband too much. Every time she asks when he'll pick her up and complains about how hard her mother-in-law treats her. If you ask me, this young Master Yan is also heartless. To be able to not read or reply to a single letter, truly a heart of iron. Ah, Miss Lu, don't you think so?" Recalling Yan Mateo standing outside my tent every night until late, I didn't commit to an answer, just smiled. Several more months passed, and a letter from that address was actually sent to me. Opening it, every word was full of resentment. "Lu Yuan, it's all your fault. If you hadn't insisted on marrying Yan Mateo, I could have married him long ago and wouldn't have ended up with that good for nothing. Becoming a widow and being bullied by that old hag every day. Songshu wouldn't have fallen for someone else. What's so great about you anyway? You had him chasing you to such a desolate place, never looking at me again. Do you know I hate you? I wish I could grind your bones to dust." After that came unspeakable curses. I instructed Xiaoyu, "Deliver this letter, along with the one she gave Yan Mateo before, to Madame He, untouched. The people we sent to Jiangnan to investigate young Master He's accidental drowning should also be recalled." Xiaoyu acknowledged the order and withdrew. I arranged to go horseback riding with Yan Mateo outside the city. New recruit training was tough, and he had suffered a lot during this period. Seeing me, his expression became very excited, and he readily agreed. He was still rambling. "A Yuan, if you'd just look at me again, I'd be willing to die for you. Smile at me, and I'll give you my life." I asked. "Really?" He nodded emphatically. The horses galloped, the east wind blew, as if to blow away all the pent-up anger and the distance in our hearts. We rode like this until dusk, when we both realized we were lost. The vast desert stretched endlessly, making it impossible to tell which path was the way home. The sunlight receded, and a shimmering green expanse gradually lit up in the distance. "Are those fireflies?" Yan Mateo asked. I looked at him and said gravely, "Those are the eyes of hungry wolves. An old soldier once said that if you encounter a pack of wolves in the wild, the only way is to gallop away. Once the pack catches up to the straggler, they won't chase any further." Yan Mateo pondered for a moment, turned his head away, and dared not meet my eyes again. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's run." He returned home in the afternoon. Respectfully, I lowered my eyes sadly. He was going to abandon me again. And this time it wasn't about romantic entanglements, but a divergence between life and death. The wind and sand blurred my eyes, and I rubbed them repeatedly on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, the wolf pack had long since chased him away. Perhaps he would never know that my saddle was covered in beast-repellent powder, and my bag was filled with lamp oil. The wolf pack had always kept their distance from me. Even if the powder wasn't effective, the lamp oil could ward them off to some extent. I gently patted the magnificent horse beneath me and said to its innocent big eyes, "Snowflake, what a shame. Let's go back. As for him, he'll have to fend for himself." Upon returning, I would also thank my father for choosing a seasoned horse for me, one that could always find its way back to Yenmen, no matter how far it traveled. The twilight deepened, but the grass was still sparse. The spring breeze took several months longer to reach here than the capital city. I pulled out a bottle of strong liquor and held it high towards the vast sky, a toast to the heavens. The last New Year was quite unsatisfactory. Now, at last, I can celebrate the new spring.